How you doing? Jamie Lewis here. I'm going to share with you right now how I made a whole bunch of money online. And if I die tomorrow from smoking, you'll have the full story. I sure hope you enjoy this audio and get something out of it because this is happening right now. I basically built Beats365.com and SonicProducer.com, which collectively grossed a few $1 million. And then I launched many other sites, some I'm ultra proud of and others I wish I'd never created. I'm not writing all this to toot my own horn or brag, and you'll see why I have no need to do this for that reason. I'm trying to help you with some awesome online business strategies without you having to pay some scammer 35 grand to coach you. See, a lot of those other business people and gurus, they never open their mouth like this because then their coaching would be obsolete, or whatever you call it, and therefore you really never get this side of the story or the truth to how to really make a substantial, significant business online. I truly believe, and I think you do too, that the reason no one explains it for free is because their bio is not very impressive and wouldn't help anyone sell anything. But on the other hand, no one else is going to do it for you. So posting an auto blog on a Facebook page and then sitting there waiting, it'll not ever do anything for you. Self-responsibility is the most important thing. This is a story of someone who is mega proud of a lot of hard work, and I hope it inspires other people to create something really cool on the internet. I know a lot of people have been asking me to share my story in this way for years, which I haven't really made public to the extent that you will see on this page for the first time. I feel personally that this is super duper important to tell you a little something, as of course the way I did it was pretty cool, and some of the tactics to get paid, they were super easy. Heck, you'll probably dig it and you'll want to try some of these philosophies and techniques with your business. To create a website and have it blow up into $1 million business, you need to really love doing it. It's the same thing as showbiz. If you love doing it, then you can get big quick. It doesn't matter if you're a young kid or someone with an MBA. Whatever you love doing, you can monetize it, and that's what this page is all about. By the looks of all those How Jamie Got Rich marketing posts and all of the internet marketing crap all over the internet associated with my name, you'd never know that more than $2 million in gross sales came from my musical endeavors. And if you were to further break down the figure, you'd see that the content devices and business models are exactly the same as the ones I used before the internet came along. As you probably already know, business is about the 3 Ps: product, placement, and price. Without the internet, how does an artist distribute? How do you produce payments? Ever heard the term starving artist? Well, that term shouldn't exist anymore. See, I always had products and services. I created and taught music all my life, but could not make much money doing it because I had no distribution, no affiliates, no payment processing or storefront. So when I got my first internet connection, I was able to finally solve those challenges. And soon after, I began to make an amazing amount of money selling my music that I produced, video instruction of myself producing music, teaching drum lessons, guitar lessons, photography, domain names, and information, with the only difference being it was all digitized and selling on autopilot using the internet as a medium. Now look, here's how it's done. When someone asks me how to get rich online, I tell them to produce themselves. Different people do different things, so do what you're familiar with, whether you're an affiliate marketer and sell products online for commission, or you write your own book and it sells on Kindle. It helps to spend time in niches that you're an expert in and never try to fake it. However, if you stumble across a traffic opportunity or some type of competitive advantage, you may want to jump on it, even if you're unfamiliar with the content. You'll need to spend some time in that case getting familiar with the new endeavor you're embarking on. I know what you might be thinking. I don't have any specialties. I'm not an artist. I have no content. Then you're an opportunistic marketer, which is fine if done ethically. That's just what I call it. The vendor and affiliate model are polar opposites that require different protocols. I ended up having success as a vendor first because I was able to transform what I was already doing into being a vendor and selling my own products. I learned all about how to successfully run the affiliate model from doing this second. So if you're looking to learn more about marketing, I think this post might be a real eye-opener to those who keep buying the products and get chronic information overload. It's really quite simple. Make a splash. And then there's, of course, the, you know what, Jamie, you're a this and that and all of the bad words. Look, I love the hate. It gives me more fuel to do much more. And to my fans, heck, I appreciate the love. So first off, let's get the how to make money online question out of the way. Look, I use the internet to advertise my websites and affiliate promotions. Make sense? So let me break down how it got started. Before I begin the marathon timeline of timelines, let me quickly disclose something really important. I'll try my best to include all the little details. I'll try my darned hardest to throw you some gems. And throughout the years, there was all sorts of absurdly easy stuff I used to do to make money before I got all fat and lazy. Well, I didn't really get fat though, but I might not be able to remember the exact URLs and stuff. There was just so much stuff I tried and did. In fact, so much that after doing 400 hours of instructional webinars, I'm still talking about it. I recommend you do your own research and use my parameters. However, with that being said, I think you'll see I'm trying pretty hard to explain all the little details and settings regarding the AdWords accounts and all of that, alright? So look, and one last thing. I'm rounding out numbers a lot in this article from memory. For instance, if something I did made me $367.35, I might mention $350 or $400 from memory or average. For instance, my $10 million in gross sales, although based on actual figures, represents total gross earnings my entire time online since 2004, and it's rounded out and estimated since the year is not ended yet. Let's talk about the timeline. This was my very first e-commerce website here, bestbeatsonline.com, a place to buy original hip-hop beats made by Jamie Lewis or my stage name Nebula. First off, it was a big flop in my opinion, but it was a necessary step I had to take in killing the beats market. I had to see how much people did not want to spend $5 to $50 a beat. I hear that. I wouldn't want to spend $50 a beat either. People don't want to license beats when they can just download the free available ones off SoundClick. So as you will see, I needed to go back to the drawing board and recalibrate, which once accomplished would serve as a foundation for a lot of very successful internet projects. This is how it started. The year was 2004, and I had just recently been fired from Elias Arts New York City, which was basically the snobbiest music house in the world, where they created music for commercials. I had been working there a month when then that gave me the boot. I guess because I was showing a lot of contempt having to work in the dub room. See, I was a composer who was already working freelance in New York City and winning bids for major commercials, being able to write, perform, and produce music in an extraordinarily short amount of time, usually anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours. That's what I'm good at, and one of the only things that I was good at, besides other related skills like Photoshop, to create album covers and Final Cut Pro to produce music videos. My entire family consists of classical musicians with record deals and perform concerts all over the world, including venues like Carnegie Hall and others, so naturally I sucked at sports as a kid, but was a natural at the arts. I grew edgy and hostile since I didn't really like doing the dirty work for other shittier composers in that dub room. And I had this subliminal resentment, so although these people at Elias were incredibly arrogant, elitist, and abusive, I take responsibility that I had failed their hazing period, for lack of a better word. Before I was hired at Elias, I worked at Sam Ash, New York City in Times Square in 2003. Now that job was a job, but I met a ton of producers like RZA, Irv Gotti, and DJ Clue that I had admired a lot. One day the phone rang in the store and I'd picked it up as usual. On the other end was a dude who was asking me if we had a certain keyboard in stock. I told him, sure, come on down. See, we always had the thing in stock and I felt I didn't need to look at inventory. I asked his name on the phone and he said, I'm Jim. And I told him to ask for Jamie when he got there. Well, everything went to shit when Jimmy Fallon walked in and I quickly found out this was Jim and I didn't have it in stock. We got in an argument, and to this day when I see Jimmy on the TV, I remember that retarded day. I had created a reel consisting of my claymation short film where clay figures stormed the record label offices and killed executives. I mailed a few dozen copies to all the music houses and I heard back from a few of them as they were really impressed. One of the music houses asked me to come in for an interview. It was a smaller music house named Ant Music, run by this guy Anthony. I traveled into the city from my apartment in Queens on the N train and I picked up a fruit salad on the way. I did the interview eating fruit salad. They told me that they loved the reel and they wanted me to produce some freelance style for them. So Anthony called me a month later and asked me to produce a Wendy's commercial. You basically were paid $300 for the demo and then your piece of music is put in a pool to be chosen by advertising agencies. So the producer, Chuck, told me to combine a rocky feel with a techno-pop sound because the video was a big girl on a treadmill that falls off. I never did see the video, but I never won the job either, so I only made $300. But they really liked what I did, so Anthony told me I'd be working for them a lot more. Their producer, Chuck, was a great guy and was going to be in touch with me that week. The gigs kept coming, and realistically I was making $300 a week from this in addition to my $200 a week from Sam Ash. until I did a Pantene commercial and I actually won. They wrote me a fat check for $2,000 and I had never seen that much money in my entire life. I was hooked. I was soaking wet from pouring rain during my final interview at Elias, where I knocked it out of the park, so then about a month later I got the call one day while working at Sam Ash. All my friends at Sam Ash were hating when I got the call from Elias that day. It was right before Christmas time, since I guess they wanted to start the year off with a new dub room guy, and they offered me $35,000 a year. When Elias hired me, I think it made Anthony a little jealous or something, but I told him we would stay in touch. I began working at Elias, and the atmosphere was very strange and manipulative. I'd be given contradicting tasks all the time as a prank, and it pissed me off that the other composers sucked really bad. Heck, Ant Music loved me, so why was I in a dub room? But I fell for the elitism, and I respected their brand for some reason, even though their music sounded like bad porno music. So towards the end of my month at Elias, a big job for a MasterCard priceless spot came in, and I left early the night before the ad agency was going to be listening to our finished work without finishing the dub, right? I left early. The next morning I came in and they needed the dub. I told them it wasn't done yet. They had a flippin' cow and brought me into one of the studios, the creative director holding a piece of paper in his hand. This piece of paper simply stated they were terminating me, and they basically wanted me to sign on the dotted line. This was the world I had been living in. I was so hardworking, and I was obsessed, disciplined, and companies like Ant Music, who actually gave me a chance to be myself, knew this. Immediately after being fired, I literally walked across the street to Ant Music and busted in on them, telling them how upset I was. They laughed when I told them I messed up the MasterCard spot and told me that Elias was pissed because one of Ant Music's composers landed the spot. They had submitted their reel faster and they were awarded the job because I messed up. Well, this was at least how Elias made it sound. I could have probably gotten in huge trouble if they knew I worked for Ant Music at the same time. But I knew that Ant Music wasn't the only outlet that would allow me to be myself and do what I'm good at. The way these companies worked wasn't the best man for the job. It was like wait in line, risk getting fired if you don't get along with someone at the company. And even after years of working for them, you're writing music and never getting credit for it. I was devastated when they fired me because I'd been waiting in line for over a year for the job, and if I couldn't work my dream job, what was I to do? So look, I built the BBO website after asking my friend Donald Heller for help learning HTML and everything. I had driven up to Connecticut where he lives, studied with him for 2 hours, and took notes. I got home and I tried building a website and created my first page that night. I was ready to take over the world. Something that amazed me was that every page on the site is basically like the one page you designed, right? But just duplicated, i.e. your template. And then your links they all linked all together. And you know what? See, I told you I was street, easy to learn from, right? I told my father that I wanted to incorporate and have him as my vice president of my new company. I incorporated online and then we decided to hire a lawyer to look everything over. So my father went online looking for an attorney in the New York area, and the first result that came up was Chris Hoyt, New York City. Chris's office was on the top of the Empire State Building, so we drove into Manhattan together in my father's car and we met with him. We knew we were going to be selling tons of music online, as I had around 500 pieces of music produced in the past 3 years. Chris did a company name change for us, and we ate in the restaurant below to celebrate, as my dad called it. And little did I know Chris would become a good friend of mine and the attorney that I always go to first before my other 3 attorneys. You want to know something really funny? All of my attorneys' first names start with the letter C for some reason. Chris, Claude, Clark, and Carl, I swear. So there we were, trying to start an entertainment business again. My dad is a very left-leaning socialist, but he's pretty much a genius. He is a professor at a university, just like my mother too, and I wouldn't call him an entrepreneur, rather a leader of groups. Around a year later, me and my father got into a big fight over something, and we decided for me to continue with the company myself only. So anyhow, after learning how to create a website, I created the template, the graphics, and hired someone off Scriptlance to do the little preview buttons that allowed people to sample my music. I then went searching for a payment processor, and that's when I found MediaPal. They put themselves out as a solution to process payments and track downloads, which I had been wondering how to do for a long time. To tell you the truth, once the site was up, I can't remember if I advertised at all. I thought the traffic will just find your site, and to be honest, I hadn't read Google Cash yet, which was basically my lesson in advertising, which would later spark a huge fire and what I refer to as the Great Beat Monopoly of 2005. First off, I sold one $300 beat exclusively, a couple $50 non-exclusives, and I thought that was cool, but obviously not a lot to live on. Around the same time, since I was unemployed, I did a search for work-at-home opportunities, and of course I joined a bunch of bullshit programs like the paid surveys online. I wasted a few days signing up at 200 survey opportunities, which the survey program's instructions had told me to do, and I began to vigilantly check my inbox. Tons of spammy-looking survey opportunities flooded my inbox, and I would begin filling them out. Every time I did something, I was illegible or something, so I gave up at surveys. The next program I bought was Google Cash, written by a dude named Chris Carpenter, and this one was interesting. It talked all about using AdWords to promote ClickBank and commission junction offers. I'll tell you, I didn't even know what an ebook was before reading the Google Cash ebook. Aside from learning all about affiliate marketing and Google AdWords advertising from this ebook, I learned to make your own ebook was simple. You write a book with Microsoft Word and print it as a PDF file. But really, all I needed to know and all I had to read was how you could get paid commissions for selling other people's stuff, and I was hooked. ClickBank. The processor that I'd found a few days earlier that seemed so simple for what I wanted to do would end up making me millions. I then also signed up for E-Trade to trade stocks, a Forex.com account to trade currency, and an eBay account as well. I was basically taking stuff into my own hands. I didn't know what was going to work, and in hindsight, none of it worked. I was the one who worked. And now when I look back, I made a ton of money actually using eBay, and some money with E-Trade too, but that fell apart quick, if you know what I mean, especially after 2008. But seriously, I stopped buying products and ebooks in 2005 after wasting a week on the surveys, only to get spammed out the butt. Even though in the beginning I did suffer from the ebook will make you the money syndrome, but I stopped thinking that other people could do things for me. At least I knew this, but I didn't want to believe it. I was pretty stubborn with that and continued to learn the lesson over and over and over again, that I am the only one that can really make things happen. Nevertheless, I came up with an idea to put a new Beats website on ClickBank, but this one would have to be much different as they didn't have a shopping cart. Now, MediaPal had a shopping cart, but a month went by and my $450 in earnings was sitting in MediaPal and they never paid me. I learned the hard way that networks rip you off. I didn't even know about PayPal yet, and my initial inquiries online looking for processors scared me since I misunderstood that a lot of big-name payment platforms like CCBill charge $800 for adult content because of Visa and MasterCard regulations, or something like that. I didn't have any adult content, but thought this applied to me. So when I joined ClickBank, the decision was really made because it only cost $50 for a vendor account, and this seemed like a deal. That's a retarded reason to have gotten signed up to ClickBank, right? So since ClickBank didn't have a shopping cart and I didn't know how to code, it was almost like I was in some way forced to sell all of my beats as a package that would later make me $1 million. Now I built the new website in a couple of days and I priced it at $15 for 300 or so beats. My front page or index contained around 30 previews of my best beats. If you liked what you heard, there was information at the bottom of the page regarding how much I was selling the package for and the process of purchasing, basically the call to action. The Buy It Now button would sell product number 2 in my ClickBank account, which gave paying customers the members area, where they could download all of the instrumentals. The instrumentals were in MP3 format, and the user could download all 300 beats in about 10 minutes with a high-speed connection. It was around October 2004, and now I had read about Google AdWords for advertising. I'd tried it promoting ClickBank offers. I'd gotten my first sale, broken even on advertising fees, nothing glamorous, but that was not the only endeavor on my mind. I wanted to crack the vendor code, so Beats 365 was born. Now, with the few hits of Google AdWords, I started to get sales very easily. Of course, everyone wanted a whole bunch of beats for $15. I now had an autopilot business online. Remember, prior to creating the package, even with traffic, I think I only sold 2 or 3 single beats. So if someone bought my package, I'd get around $12.50 after ClickBank fees. So with my PPC campaign selling 3 packages for every 100 visitors at 5 cents a click, it cost $5 to make $12 times 3. I could get 200 clicks a day, so I was very excited. This was a one-page site that was making me $60 a day out of nowhere. The niche was very uncompetitive. Sure, there were networks like SoundClick where there were people selling beats, but most of the actual sites that sold beats did not use AdWords and did not know about affiliate programs or my new model, so the result was that no one was bidding on my terms. My terms were rap beats, rap instrumentals, hip-hop beats, and hip-hop instrumentals. It felt like it was too good to be true. There were competitors that had all their ducks in a row and were run by famous producers, but I guess they hadn't read ebooks on marketing, or sometimes, as they were entirely confident only in their production abilities, which doesn't really get you far in a competitive environment. One day I looked into the account and I saw a few transactions for product 2, but the amount I made was $5.71, and I was pissed. I looked a little closer and I saw that these sales were made by ClickBank affiliates, and that they'd found my site on the marketplace and chose to promote my product. Every day now there were 4 or 5 $5.71 sales, and I felt like I was being ripped off. My account was set to 50% commissions, and so I dropped the commission to 20%. The $5.71 sales ceased after a couple of days. After a week or so, my weekly earnings had a dip since I killed my affiliates. I wasn't making as much. I looked a little closer at the marketplace and other offers, and in doing so, I came across my site in the marketplace. It said I had 5 Gravity. Gravity represented the number of affiliates I had. Other sites on the marketplace had 350 Gravity, and I had 5. So I figured affiliates might be a good thing. I thought to myself, maybe I'll gain more affiliates. I also noticed that all the other sites on the marketplace had 50% or more, with most of the sites all the way up to 75% commission. So I put my affiliate commission at 70%, since I had nothing to lose. I was the only Beats 365 affiliate at this point. So I started getting sales from affiliates again. I learned that it's better to be generous, and the word spreads fast and the rewards outweigh the results if you have an insular philosophy. So I kept making beats that were really good until I had around 1,000 of them. I then had so many different genres, I revamped the entire site that you could preview some of the best beats I had by genre. Later on, I raised the price to $34.95 and rode with that for a few years until dropping the price to $29.95. As I will explain in the next few paragraphs, I started promoting a database offer for autos that had a teaser search for makes and models, and I adopted this idea and I implemented it with my Beats site. As soon as I did that, my $60 a day turned into $100 to $300 a day with Beats 365. Yes, that is the way that ClickBank bars looked back then. Now, I don't know if you do beats, but this proved to be an insane model. A couple other people started doing the same and created similar type offers on ClickBank for their music. The funny thing was that they all pretended like they didn't outright jack my templates, formatting, and even the language I used. I didn't mind as long as they were good to work with on the marketplace and didn't talk shit about my stuff. Although yes, of course, I've seen a lot of dirty-ass wannabes go anonymous and try that stuff. Man, the things I could tell you. Alright, here's one. One cat on SoundClick thought it would be pretty funny to do a whole diss theme with one of my tracks. He took one of my beats and rapped over it, dissing Beats 365, and put it on his SoundClick. He had like 100,000 plays or something total on his SoundClick, which was pretty decent. So here he is, takes one of my tracks and then raps lyrics over it like, "Don't go to Beats 365, buy my stuff, Beats 365 is BS." Which would have been fair game, except, you know what, he was using my copyrighted beats and making things worse, being a bad competitor. So I emailed SoundClick and I told them, yo, you got this dude doing this and that. They kicked him off right away. So immediately, after they banned his account, I registered to SoundClick, and when you do, SoundClick asks you what username you want. So I chose this guy's username. Now, this kid had been promoting the heck out of his SoundClick address. I can't remember the exact URL, but let's say it was Big Beats. So now I owned the Big Beats SoundClick account, and he didn't. So I posted a picture of a big, hairy you-know-what and gay pride theme, along with some really, really bad beats on the poor kid's SoundClick page. All these kids and friends of his were LOLing and leaving comments like, WTF? Well, let's say the guy wasn't very happy when he got home from school. In fact, he was crying to me, messaging me over and over again via AIM. Yep, he knew it was the same dude who pleaded with him the day before not to use his stuff that way. Although he was a certified walking you-know-what, I felt very bad, so I gave it back to the kid. I've always been like that. I stick it in, but I pull out when you squirm. I don't like to see people in pain. The kid told me he would never mess with me again. I was also using SoundClick to market test my beats. It was a great tool. I would upload a beat, and if it hit the top 50, I'd use that one as a preview. A couple even reached the top 10 on SoundClick, and those beats I used on the front page on autoplay. In doing this, my conversion rates soared, and I saw more and more sales come in from the same affiliate. Affiliates were emailing me constantly asking me to add their conversion tracking to my thank you page. The reason they asked me to do this was so that they get a measurement in their accounts that explains which keywords were working for them and which ones weren't and needed to be paused or deleted. After a couple months, my thank you page code had 30 or so conversion tracking codes in the source code. I started promoting Beats 365 from my SoundClick, and one of my beats, Club Banga 364, hit number 8 on the SoundClick charts. I'd woken up to my aim going every 5 seconds with someone telling me my beats are dope, etc. This dude named Gravity, he's a rapper who rocked the charts at SoundClick over and over again. He was messaging me on my aim, and I was happy to be speaking with him since he rocks. I told him, you know what? Look what I'm doing with Beats 365. And I asked him if he wanted to be an affiliate. Right away, he was down. I signed him up to ClickBank, and I put a banner up on his SoundClick. Gravity started making 3 to 4 sales a day from the site. My Beats website was now kicking butt, and I was making $1,500 to $2,000 a week. The refund rate was less than 5%, so the ClickBank paychecks were amazing. The best thing about it was ClickBank actually sent me the checks, unlike MediaPal. So by now a year later, in 2005, my friend Jesse Brooks, who I'd known since 1997 when he answered my ad in the Village Voice for metal guitarists, he came out to see me where I lived in Astoria, Queens. We were chilling out and he asked if he could use my computer to post for jobs. He went to a popular website that I had not yet known about and started to post stuff. A light bulb went off in my head. I needed to start promoting ClickBank offers using this website. And so the next day I started, and it worked. Sure enough, I was able to get sales from it and get them for free. Every morning I'd check my email and help out my customers to see if they needed help downloading all of my tracks. Then after that, I'd go to the website Jesse showed me and post in 12 major cities promoting the database offer. I would consistently make a couple $100s a day. Now this didn't work forever because a competitor was knocking my ads down, and I told my friend Tyler about it, who started doing it too, making it even harder for me, inevitably wrecking our friendship. But one thing it did for me was show me that the affiliate thing was real, and the time I spent looking for traffic is time well spent. I also created my own database offer like the one I was promoting, which was basically like a digital Yellow Pages for auctions in 50 states. Back in 2005, they were very popular. I started getting affiliates for this as well, and then one morning I woke up to $300 already in my ClickBank account. There all of a sudden was one affiliate, he was doing all the selling. The next day, the guy contacts me on AIM and introduced himself, and I told him that, you know what, I was really happy with the way my website performed, and he was happy as well, and therefore we were going to continue promoting it both every day. So sure enough, even a month later, he was still promoting it for me. This is when I took that same website model and I redid Beats 365 the same way with many different pages for each genre. The site took off like a rocket. All of my friends were in disbelief and I was hooked. There was no way I was ever going to work for someone ever again. Even if my site failed and didn't work anymore for some reason, I would find a way, the same way I had done so far. At this point, I was getting all sorts of ideas to sell my intellectual property, especially music. I wanted to, of course, start producing kids' music, relaxing music, stock music, original ringtones. I wanted to write books on how to make beats and how to do what I was doing. And so after work, I'd watch a movie with my girlfriend, but I wouldn't really pay attention to the movie because I was writing a list that consisted of Beats 365, 300 a day, stock music, 300 a day, kids music, 300 a day, ebook on music business, 300 a day, how to play guitar, 300 a day. See, now that I had an autopilot business, I was going to rinse and repeat. I was basically daydreaming. All of these topics were enough projects for another 2 years. And this is exactly what I did. So I created relaxingmusicsource.com, musicmasterpro.com, and this one was how to produce beats, instrumentmaster.com, and guitarhotshot.com. And so I was now making $3,500 a week with 6 offers on ClickBank. See, all of these sites were basically my original music for sale, video recordings of me teaching guitar or drums or production on video for hours on end, so it was basically the same thing I'd been doing since I was 16 years old, 10 years before this. See, I'd taught rock band at Meade School in Stamford, Connecticut, a few years before all this, when I was 23, and I loved doing it, but unfortunately my creative passion did not allow me to really keep these types of jobs. The next school year, I didn't pursue the gig again. I was learning so much every day about marketing, advertising, keywords, niches, and through trial and error, I was able to rule out methods and myths that most of those scammers had me believing. And of course, I was equally as hungry to do affiliate marketing, not just publishing my music and music techniques. So I started promoting other offers for commission using the sites that Jesse had shown me that I found had worked, and plugging along with AdWords but not having as much success with it since I hadn't found the secret quite yet. One huge eye-opener was the day I went on eBay and I saw that they had a sites for sale area. When you stumble on things like this, a light bulb goes off in your head. Well, at least for me, since I developed this skill of creating so many niche sites so quickly, this was a big light bulb. So I put my car auctions website on eBay for sale, and a week later it sold for $18,000. Now, as soon as the site sold, I noticed a thread on this website, ewealth.com, appear on Google for the brand name of my database site. I looked closer, and there was a bunch of people talking smack about my auction, saying it was fake, the money was fake, the buyer was fake, all this and that. Basically jealous affiliate marketers, I'd imagine. Now, I did not have any internet social skills whatsoever back then, so when I registered to the forum to defend myself, I did a very bad job at introducing myself. My first post was, "Why am I selling my site?" And then a rather quick answer. "Good question. It's a good site," I said. That thread fizzled out, and then another one popped up. This time I named my post, "Shut Up!" Yep, very professional of me. I then proceeded to ask them questions why they would think this and that, and it turned into a heated but rather human discussion. And before I knew it, I was hanging out at this forum here and there every day for a little human interaction. I had no smoke breaks with my friends at the Sam Ash music store anymore, no partners to bullshit with, so my lonely ass used this forum to reach out and touch someone. I began to make friends. Now, there were some guys on this forum who were really, really good at affiliate marketing. Basically, they had no offers of their own. They just promoted other offers and used AdWords, which back then was a lot easier to do than nowadays. I remember showing my girlfriend a post done by one of the users, a 22-year-old who had initially argued with me over my auction, and now he showed off his brand new BMW. Looking back, it wasn't a very impressive BMW. It was like a 528 or something, but this was amazing to me. I had a 1994 Honda, so BMW, no matter what make or model, was intimidating to me. I was blown away how I'd stumbled onto this subculture and how young people were making this type of money from home. Now, since the owner of this forum ran a bunch of background checks and reverse records offers, I took interest in this niche and I created some new AdWords campaigns based on the new things I learned there. I made 10 ad groups, which each used the theme of the most obviously relevant keywords for the offer, and I activated it. I began to make conversions as I began to spend money. That first night it did great, and looking back I'd consider that a payday. One of the things I learned was that the first couple of days of running a campaign will be your best. Prior to this epiphany of mine, I'd leave the campaign on and it would go, it'd go into the red. And I'd keep running the campaign until I was ready to throw my computer out the window, inevitably losing a lot of money, right? The thing I didn't understand was that when you launch your AdWords campaign, it's the same as any other launch. It will die. The get-rich-quick ebooks would have you believing that the campaigns are supposed to run forever. No, if you're lucky, 2 or 3 days, unless you change the ad copy or the offer. I didn't do any of this. So because I'd fallen victim to this misinformation or lack of information from all the free stuff I seen put out by the big-name gurus, I didn't get into it a lot, and I really should have, since the first night was always profitable. I should have continued to build new campaigns promoting new offers. Duh. I remember during my first building of the first AdWords campaign, my girlfriend was watching the whole season of Lost behind me. I was facing the street in the living room, and the TV was on the wall. We'd just gotten a plasma TV for the first time, and I was the one who bought it for once. I had that beach from the show in my mind during the making of the campaign, and when I remembered right now to tell you this, I see that beach in my head again. Weird? Maybe I felt like I was stranded on a beach for real. I did, however, really want to watch that show, but I was getting annoyed that the monster was becoming ever more less scary. So again, $300, $300, $300. Daydreams took over. Within 2 months, my AdWords account had 40 campaigns, and I finally learned how to successfully promote affiliate offers without going into the red and losing my money, but learning slowly the fact that I have to turn it off after the first night. Either that or be a nerd like Perry Marshall and keep track of every little bit of performance, which I tried doing and it frustrated the hell out of me. I signed up to become an affiliate of Musician's Friend and created an AdWords campaign to promote musical instruments. So the campaign had 18 or so ad groups, which with around 10 keywords promoting everything from Ibanez guitars to Roland V drums. The only crappy thing about using this offer to make money with in the affiliate program was that the results did not update in real time. So around 12 midnight the first day, after waiting 12 hours, I logged into the account after driving around $70 worth of traffic. The stats came in for the entire day, and it showed I sold 2 drum sets, guitars, keyboards, mics, yielding around $350 in commissions. Basically, the campaign was a total success, and I made almost $300 profit. I attribute this success from the fact that I knew a heck of a lot about the niche I went into, rather than look at the marketing from an opportunity standpoint. Therefore, when I wrote my ads and chose keywords, I knew a lot about my potential customers and what they were looking for. See, I was doing the same exact thing when I was working at Sam Ash in the city. You remember that? I was selling the same musical instruments I sold there in the store, but now online from home. The irony was I was paid a much better percentage of the sales, 8%, than I was actually physically working in the store, which I believe was 5%. If I sold a $3,000 keyboard, I made almost $300. So this campaign was golden. Again, the first night was the most profitable, but I was at least learning to turn it off after the first night, which was great. I turned it on a couple more times for around a year or so, and at the same time continued to create campaigns as those little numbers added up. My mom had renovated a ruin in Italy, so me and my girlfriend flew out there to see how she was doing and enjoy the Italian countryside. I remember being in touch with my friend and affiliate Gravity, remember him? While in Italy, but the whole time I was there for 2 weeks, I made money normally. I posted my ads, I managed my PPC, I checked in on my friend Gravity and my other affiliates from time to time, and even used a couple internet cafes to see how things were going when I was away from home. It was amazing. So listen, check it out. I got into other niches. Something I hadn't explained yet is that back in 2001, my ex-girlfriend ran off with a good friend of mine. It destroyed my world, and I had to put myself back together again. I also learned a ton about relationships, and since I had a baby with this girl, I had to work it out with her afterwards. She did move out to Utah with my son, which devastated me once again since I couldn't see him, but I'd fly out to see him once a quarter. I'd been writing a ton on the whole thing, with a folder on my hard drive full of diaries, journals, stuff like that. I noticed that there was a category on ClickBank as well as bookstores all over the internet that sold a ton of ebooks in this niche. It was basically the get your ex back niche. So you guessed it, I wrote an ebook about my breakup and I released it on ClickBank. I wrote it relatively fast since I had played it over and over again in my head so many times. Another advantage to sticking to your niche. But coming up with instruction was something I had actually been doing for a long time. I created a 14-chapter table of contents, the first 3 chapters, introduction of the subject and concepts, and then about myself. I immediately went into my story about how my relationship got so bad when how the breakup occurred. By the 8th chapter, I explained how we were able to reconcile and create a really good relationship again. After I was done with the ebook, I created the site starting on a Friday. All weekend I worked on this. Then the offer was approved on ClickBank Monday. I started sending PPC traffic at the offer and the ebook started selling like crazy. You could see the first sale come in and then the next. And then you check how many clicks you got coming in your AdWords account panel. And then you see you have 15 clicks that cost you a total of $3.20 on advertising and you made 2 $30 sales. You want to jump for joy. You start getting really excited. Another confidence booster was that ClickBank has an extremely liberal refund policy, meaning if you ask for a refund, they refund you immediately. Heck, sometimes customers would contact me angry that ClickBank refunded them when they had just asked them for help. Just like they had itchy trigger fingers or something. So anyway, my point being, I had low refund rates, and it was a really great indicator that people really liked my stuff I was writing. When I started doing $200 a day, like with my music sites, my horizons again became so much wider and the potential seemed vast. There weren't enough hours in the day to do what I wanted to do. There were so many possibilities. It was 2006, I think, when I created a website that showed how to do affiliate marketing. I took screenshots of my ClickBank earnings and created a cool little video for the front page with techno music over it. I created an AdWords campaign for this one, and right away I hit a really big roadblock as the keywords I wanted to use were $2 a click territory, since the niche was so competitive. But this didn't stop the affiliates from beginning to promote the site, as I had created an affiliate portal, Big Billions, which showcased all my other sites for affiliates to promote them. My affiliate marketing site wasn't making as much as you'd think, around $200 to $300 a day, but again, great refund rates as I knew what I was talking about, having done real affiliate marketing for 2 years. After running this site for a while, I put the site on eBay for sale as well. The site sold for $38,000. After the site sold, a couple days went by and I hadn't heard from the buyer yet. Late one night, the phone rang, and on the other end was a soft-spoken Australian accent, and he had a few questions for me. Everything went well, and then my buyer finished the transaction using escrow.com, which is what you should use when you do such a big transaction, by the way. So you don't lose your money, or I don't lose my site if one of us turns into what I'd call a gremlin. I helped him get the site moved over, and we became friends. I went straight to the BMW dealer, and I bought the showcase BMW 645 convertible. I drove off the lot and put the pedal to the metal. The thing took off, and it was amazing. I'd never driven a car that had more than 150 horsepower. I immediately posted pics on eWealth trying to piss the kid off who was messed with me about my auction, although I have to say he was coming around and we were getting along better. There was something for the past few years I'd been missing out on. I wasn't doing any email marketing, so people would purchase my package, ebook, database, download it, and then nothing. Other vendors had newsletters and would promote similar offers in their niche via email marketing, and I guess I just really wasn't ready to wrap my head around it or something. But I got my first Aweber account and began to build my beats list. I now had money coming in from my own offers as well as affiliate promotions here and there, and this is when I decided to sell a couple of my musical offers on eBay again. Yes, I loved those lump sums. Right away, my friend who purchased the affiliate marketing site from me wanted to buy the musical sites as well, and so we decided on a price for all of them as a package. I transferred the sites to him, and every so often I would log in and I'd see how much the sites were making, keeping my eye on him to make sure he was good to go. One day I logged into the ClickBank account for Music Master Pro, and to my amazement, the site was now making $500 a day. This was in the vendor side of the business, so after giving 70% to affiliates, I figured the total was upwards of $1,300 in gross sales every day. I called my friend and asked him how in the world the site is doing, and then he told me that he'll tell me all about it once he's done with the negotiation, whatever that meant. So, to make a long story short, the traffic was coming from one of the top YouTube videos for guitar, and my friend had just bought the YouTube account. The video had 50 million views and climbing, with a comment every 2 minutes. This YouTube video was so popular and well known that a screenshot of the video was used in the Wikipedia entry for YouTube with the caption, "A user uploads himself playing guitar and gets 50 million views," or something along those lines. By the time someone stole the video from us, it had 91 million views. Unfortunately, the guy who had originally owned the YouTube account lived in Asia. So, you know what? His friend had asked him to place his affiliate link in the description box to earn commissions from the video. It was a shame that he didn't fully disclose to him that he'd be making 100% of the money from that link. If he did, the owner might have kept 100%, but would have told my friend to mess off, right? So the owner gets an email from my friend asking him to sell for $1,000, and the owner happily accepted, leaving his phantom affiliate friend very angry as soon as my friend changed the affiliate link to his own. My friend came to me and asked to partner with me to build some more guitar instruction sites, as we obviously harnessed enormous power in the guitar lessons niche. I began auditioning guitarists in the New York City area, in all different genres, and began filming them for hire. My guitar teaching was okay with Guitar Hotshot, and in my opinion, it would have been very helpful for guitarists that I work with. Unfortunately, a lot of guitarists are a nightmare to record with, but we really needed a lot of content because, of course, there was a really insane opportunity. My friend kept me in the lab for what felt like a ridiculously long amount of time recording and editing the guitarists. In the meantime, he began to build a list of his own, so we'd broadcast the list when the site was done. After 8 months of creating this enormous amount of content, I created Guitar Superstars and we plugged it into the YouTube. We had built a list of around 50,000 subscribers, and we were making a ridiculous amount of money. Other affiliates joined in, and now our site was a smash hit. When you do a search on YouTube for guitar, you got us. If you did a search for guitar lessons, you got us as well. We are the king of guitar lessons. One of my favorite places to stop in at was that good old forum where I'd introduced myself with the Shut Up post. I had a lot of good friends there, and now over 4,000 posts. One day I got a rather strong proposal from someone who called himself LL, or the Chinese LL Cool J, where he was offering to work as my affiliate manager. I was open to the idea, so we decided to create an offer together and see how it went. I had a habit of doing parody, and sometimes I'd start a serious project, and I just couldn't take the niche seriously. One of the most ridiculous internet info niches is the PUA or pickup artist niches. That's just in my opinion. it's always so obvious that the gurus that teach it were fake, and to make matters worse, they said things that were just the opposite of what most women would like. The gurus I had seen were so strange, so sleazy, and here my new friend wanted to do one. So I told him I had an idea and I went to work as usual. Bang Flick was born, how to make dirty movies with girls. Complete with ebook, this ridiculous concept topped one of the funniest things I'd think I'd ever done. Now, of course, no merchant would ever approve the site, and I didn't want to get into adult since Chris scared the crap out of me regarding that industry. So we wrote it off as being a complete joke and a parody. LL even connected it for sale using PayPal and Pay.com as a processor, but I disconnected it right away since I was afraid if someone did buy it, PayPal would reject the sales and get pissed off at us. Nonetheless, the site was ridiculously funny, including the text, and to this day we laugh about the video I did with my girlfriends as we watch it on my YouTube channel. But LL was a bit disappointed that I wasn't taking this seriously, and so I felt bad, like I'd been jerking around this guy and wasting his time. The irony was that I got like 20 times more action than any of the PUA gurus and had tons of hot girls hanging around, including my girlfriend, who was adorably sexy in my opinion, so I figured, okay, I'll do a serious one. And I figured I'd get a really good domain name for the project. I created an AdWords campaign for how to get girls, and I created 10 different ads. I set the ads to rotate evenly, so each one would be shown 10%. The only thing different about the ads was the display URL, which is the URL that shows in the bottom in blue. Note that your destination URL, the actual site you want to put your prospect to land on, could be something different. So in all, 10 ads were exactly the same except I put in a different display URL, all different available but not yet purchased domain names. Some of them were GetGirlsNow, DatingStrategy.net, and GetInThePants.com. Now, since all of these were on rotation evenly, after running 200 hits, we would see which ad or for which URL was the most desired. GetInThePants.com was the winner by far. Now, I do not know if this was a good thing or a bad thing because heck, the name was hilarious, and heck, this might waste a lot of affiliates' money on false clicks, or clicks that really weren't, people weren't interested in it but thought it was funny. The content, again, was my experiences in the form of a 100-page ebook. The problem was when we were finished with it, we sent it to ClickBank and they rejected it, telling us we wouldn't be able to run it on their network. I thought, crap, we might really have a problem with it altogether. We put the site on PayPal and advertised it in the personal sections of classified ad sites. A few people bought it and actually really dug it. I didn't really see any future in the niche though, and especially since we weren't on an affiliate network, I focused on my other stuff. Another one I did was with a friend, Kimmy from eWealth, who is most proud of the fact she ranked #1 on Google for the term word pressing, which was in my opinion a keyword that I don't think anyone uses. But being that she was a girl, I think everyone on the forum was easy on her, no offense, and didn't tell her that she won't make any money with that ranking. Kimmy and I joined forces, however, and created Get Back at Your Ex. Yes, get revenge on your ex. Forget trying to get them back, which was a good spin on that same niche. I wrote the copy for the page and then filmed a video of my girlfriend killing me, chopping me up in the shower, and then dragging my body parts out to sea in a garbage bag. And yes, this was all to promote our ebook. Again, little did I know this video would become a comedy cult classic that was just too surreal to be any serious endeavor. In fact, my lawyer took one look at the site and told me to take it down immediately. But before I had a chance to tell him it was a parody, Miles Baker, my friend from eWealth, told me I wouldn't touch that site with a 10-foot pole. We added some AdSense ads and a good disclaimer explaining it was purely satire, which it was. I guess the only loss was the time it took Kimmy to write the ebook. Poor Kimmy. The site, however, did make us some good AdSense money for a while. One of my friends on eWealth contacted me one day and he explained that he was a former drill instructor who wanted to write an ebook on how to survive U.S. Marine Corps boot camp. My best childhood friend, Kobe Cutler, he unfortunately lost his life at Parris Island, one of the only young Marines to die there, so I found interest in the subject, although it was really seemingly it was a small niche from a business perspective, to be honest with you. So I took care of the affiliates, customer service, graphics, and my friend and author wrote the copy and the ebook, and we both launched the site, selling thousands of these ebooks. In the spring, I updated the banner and added a stock photo of a Marine, which was a big mistake. One day I got an email from an extremely demented and angry Marine, "Hey, you're missing the EGA on the dude's cover." And at first I was like, what is an EGA? And I asked him this. He had a coronary. He all of a sudden thinks that I'm making the whole thing up. And it turns out the stock photo was really badly done, but I didn't know. He went on, "Your website is a fraud," and when I replied, he really went nuts, since now he thought I wrote the ebook and was the dude in the stock photo. Interesting situation. This was a great example how wide my customer service demographic was and how many different serious demands I was encountering. The truth of it was a favorite amongst moms who were buying the ebook for their young Marines, and most of our buyers and fans thought it was great. So I told this guy straight up, if anything, it's going to scare the shit out of you. See, I looked at it, what I did, similar to what a record label does. You collaborate with authors and you create your own network of products instead of signing to someone else's label. The only difference was that we not only sold music, but we sold information. This is one of those greatest examples of why you need to stay in niches you're an expert in. Although the project was a hit, could you imagine what it would have been like if I hadn't partnered with a real Marine? Lesson 1. One project that turned out to be a success, but was a little more difficult to get to convert, was DessertUniversity.com. This was my girlfriend's content, how to cook chocolates. Great rates on PPC, as no one wants to bid more than 2 cents, but I did need to spend some time tweaking the front page to get some sales. Remember, once your site converts with PPC, affiliates should be able to make sales. In fact, a lot of the time, affiliates were much better at PPC than I was, since that was their sole method. And they were obviously well practiced, so if I could get sales with my PPC account, they could really get sales with theirs. The year was 2007, and I had been working on my first beat-making software. I had designed the software myself using Photoshop, making sure it had an area for tapping out drum beats, a timeline, and piano. Now, I know what you might be thinking. There are iPhone apps out there that blow this away, but the year is 2007, and things were different then. I began to record single sounds from my acoustic drums and customizing sounds with my electric drum kit as well. I had my girlfriend play violin in steps, and we overlaid them for orchestral strings. I created custom 808 drops using sine waves from my analog keyboards, and basically like a mad musician scientist for a weekend. Although the thing didn't really look so good, probably because I'm not so good with Photoshop, my sounds were awesome and mixed actually really good. For instance, usually on other sequencer like a Triton or motif, the snares always need to be taken down a notch. Why is that? That is retarded. The kick should be a bit louder to begin with, and that's one thing that this app accomplished. With this little Jamie beatbox, you would tap out or sequence a 16-track instrumental and export an MP3. It was ready to go, and you know what? In the end, it sounded just as good, and I was able to make a beat with it twice as fast. Besides, this thing was desktop appliance, so it worked out. After I was done with all the sounds, I hired a programmer to bring it to life. I began to look online for software developers online, and a Russian guy answered, explained that his company was ultra qualified to build my software. They were located in New York City as well, so he wanted to come and meet with me. We met at my favorite restaurant on the corner, Bistro 33, and he sold me. So we began communicating via email, and off he went. A month or so later, he wanted to show me a preview of the infrastructure, and it was really whack as hell. I had already paid him for the work, which looking back was not such a good idea because I was starting to feel ripped off. He explained to me that he was not going to be able to do much more and shouldn't have taken the job. That's when I flipped out and told him to refund my money. I think in the end he agreed to send me a PayPal refund or something like that and started looking for a new programmer. This time I had to be ultra careful in the audition and initial direction. Using Scriptlance, which was an outsourcing site, I was able to explain exactly what I needed, and sure enough, a qualified programmer bid on the job. I soon found out that the programming side of things would take this guy over 12 months to put it together. Sure, creating 2,000 sounds was hard work too, but it didn't take me 12 months, more like 12 weeks or somewhere in that ballpark. Before the year ended, my programmer finished my coding. Right away, I started tutorials like that were making people really flip out and loved it. And the funny thing was, I didn't know how to make screen capture recordings. Looking back, I was a slow learner and an implementer. Aside from that, Sonic Producer was born and it took off. Affiliates couldn't get enough of it. To tell you the truth, the affiliate forum I visited was so often a great launch pad. I really have to mention it. That was typically my process: build product, record tutorials and promotional demos of the product, recruit affiliates to push product. Throw the little Google AdWords testing in there somewhere and you're good to go. It would have been the same if I was doing apps on the App Store today. It would be the same process. This business made almost 4 figures a day after 6 months launched and was showing no signs of slowing down. A few people in the space completely ripped off my design and launched their own, but that didn't stop it. LL showed a big interest in smaller niches, and since his Chinese grandfather was a healer, or whatever the new age people call it, I helped LL launch the one and only, the ridiculous losemanboobs.com. I swear to God. He made this decision after seeing that there was a demand for it using the Google keyword tool, and only one competitor, this little dwarfed guy who had fixed his own personal problem with man boobs. It looked like this guy was getting all the traffic for himself, but there were no other affiliates, and his Buy It Now button went straight to PayPal, so we figured he didn't know about the power of having multiple affiliates on ClickBank. So I'd get a percentage of sales if I created the graphics, the members area, the customer service, and let my affiliates know about it. After a week of driving AdWords traffic at it, the poor guy with the little site was gone, and our site was all over the page from all the multiple affiliates. I felt bad. The emails from visitors were really depressing, and I felt myself comforting a visitor to the site who had been teased since he was young. Then a competitor, a drug company actually, contacted LL and was very angry, threatening a lawsuit because one of our affiliates had SEO'd an article using their brand name drug, and it was telling people not to get the drug but to buy Lose Man Boobs. So all we could do is contact the affiliate and ask him to stop. Sure enough, after a few calls to his hosting company, they disabled his site. Then someone contacted us and asked us if it would say Lose Man Boobs on the receipt. And he was concerned since he didn't want his wife to see this. A light bulb went off and we changed the name to Chess Coach. We ended up selling this site as well. See, we changed the name because we figured that we were losing sales to people who were afraid to buy Lose Man Boobs. And sure enough, the sales flooded in. Basically, what I'd learned from 2007 was not to mess around in areas that you don't know about.
And so he was like, all right, fine, here's the sales page. I was like, oh my God. I was like, you know what, I really don't want my affiliates to associate me with this.
I lost a lot of time. Everything we ended up doing, it just became a headache, and at the most, it was a very good portfolio of parody sites. 2008, I basically exhaled and goofed off. I had money coming in from all these sites on autopilot. I felt I really didn't need to do anything. I was now doing upwards of $7,000 a week from ClickBank, AdSense, and PayPal. I didn't even have a merchant account yet. In fact, since this particular post is about making money on the internet, the entire 2008 period really doesn't even fit in this post. So towards the end of 2008, my friend LL told me he was flying out to New York City to talk to me. Now, me being the lonely internet website maker guy, I got excited. LL came out and told me he had been spending a lot of time hanging out with people in the internet marketing crowd. I said, what's that mean? I knew what internet marketing meant, but I didn't know that there was a crowd, or better yet, of course there's a crowd in every industry, I just didn't know who was in this one. I asked him, you mean you want to do a business opportunity site, or MMO, which is short for Make Money Online? He said no, internet marketing, which is basically the niche that sells to people who bought an internet business opportunity and needed more help with it. Basically for intermediates learning affiliate marketing. I initially objected and asked him why he thought I'd be interested in this direction when I was doing so well with my music sites and my relationship ebooks. He explained to me that this concept revolved around the leasing or licensing of my PPC advertising templates. Basically some of my best advertising data, my campaigns, and my AdWords accounts. So instead of just an ebook or video instruction like other programs out there, we would do all of that and teach marketing, but also give our customers the actual campaigns, which included the keywords, the right amount of keywords per ad group, the ad copy, and the settings of each campaign. This concept was cool, I thought, because for the first 2 years when I was trying to really kick ass at PPC and learning about what a campaign was supposed to look like little by little on that marketing forum, I would have killed to have access to my campaigns back then. It wasn't really easy to create my campaigns in the first place. And what we actually looked at is if the campaigns, if they weren't good quality, we wouldn't include it in the database. But I had a few different accounts and a ton of awesome campaigns, which made for a great collection of files, so the value kicked ass. Notice there was no conversion tracking for the Musician's Friend campaign. That's the challenge with what I call corporatism. But originally I had all my Musician Friend campaigns as ad groups, but for Copy and Profit, I created new campaigns for every instrument so students would be able to better control the action and do them separately. I threw around $100 of traffic at the new campaign, so they got sales and that was a done deal. This was one of those experimental accounts where I'd test different domain names and conversion tests for my musical products like Instrument Master. So since he presented it to me as being for intermediates and his idea sounded good, I jumped on, thinking I could bail if it ended up being another psycho project like his man boobs nightmare. So we registered the name Copy and Profit, and I began putting all my AdWords campaigns I'd built over the last 4 years together in an easy-to-digest package. It was basically zip files. My girlfriend watched the entire first season of True Blood while I created the members area. After she was done, it was great timing because tutorial time came along, and that's when I'd use a mic and I'd kick everyone out of my very small living room. After the site was done, I knew it was going to be a hit because I wanted the product too. I would buy this product if I saw it, and that's an important rule in business. If you wouldn't buy the product yourself, don't waste time on it. However, there are some exceptions, of course. For instance, ladies' underwear, makeup, you get my drift. If you're a dude, don't sell underwear if you don't know shit about it. So LL's job was to do the affiliate management, which is to book promotions for other vendors in the industry and build relationships with them. My job was to make sure the website converted, build the products, and handle the customer service. Honestly, the next thing I remember is $4,000 daily from Copy and Profit. My AdWords campaigns were real. We sold the actual campaigns in file format, so all you needed to do was plug them in and it saved you a ton of time. The most amazing thing was that it really worked for our customers too. On the Warrior Forum, which is a popular affiliate forum, we'd see comments like, "I only made $170 profit from them, I'm pissed," which was rare since so many people usually don't get results at all. And I suppose considering how hostile and negative the Warrior Forum review section is, success! I got my AdWords certification the first time taking the test, which I guess was an accomplishment since usually most people I knew on eWealth it took them 2 or 3 times, as there are a ton of trick questions. It's not the easiest test in the world. But in the meantime, we had built this huge list in internet marketing, and I was very busy hiring and firing customer support people and updating the page, making sure it was compliant, and the stress of operating in a major league was starting to set in. However, financially, I was doing incredibly well as I was making $250,000 to $500,000 a year after paying affiliates. So, since 2004. So I was able to save most of it since I lived in the same dirty place in Queens, the same place I lived at when I got fired from Elias. Now, with Sonic Producer, Beats 365, and Copy and Profit, I was on the brink of a 7-figure-a-year category for the first time, just on ClickBank paychecks and eBay alone. I wanted to try a little experiment, and I created a big road sign, put it on my friend, and paid him $10 an hour for 2 hours to stand at the end of an off-ramp in Queens. He was advertising a domain name I bought, which redirected to a how-to-go biodiesel offer on ClickBank with my affiliate link attached. Unfortunately, this did not work at all. It kinda did, but you'll see what I'm saying. I think we got about 10 subscribers from all of the flyers he handed out, but $20 for 10 subscribers isn't really an intelligent business model. A lot of these things that I tried seemed like genius in the beginning, but I was blown out of the water by people online who just copied other people, and that seemed wrong to me. Me and the Chinese LL Cool J, we started to disagree on a lot of issues. Aside from the fact he would slip in weird sentences in our sales copy, causing me to always second guess what our material looked like, having to edit it late at night and stuff like that, I was already making good money before this, so if I did internet marketing stuff, I didn't want to completely sell out like Metallica did. I also didn't want one endeavor to become so big that it consumed who I was and what I really loved to do, which was working in music. He just kept giving me the "you need to sacrifice" thing, and I straight up would call him out. I said, well, you may need to sacrifice who you are, but I don't want to or even need to. Since we were splitting the money that was coming in 50-50, he went from a couple hundred a day to $2,000 a day overnight. All he was doing was contacting owners of websites and asking them to promote our site. Meanwhile, I simply added $2,000 on top of my already $2,000 a day I was already making. He needed me more than I needed him. LL wanted me to create a new site for him, so we decided on doing a sequel to Copy and Profit, except for free traffic, not paid PPC. Of course, this is what people were asking us in the customer service email. So we launched Profit Miracle, which heavily revolved around article marketing instruction and included templates similar to Copy and Profit. The tutorials and material were okay in my opinion, of course, since my competition usually did not know anything about what they were selling people. Of course, other vendors who taught article marketing were putting out a lot of misinformation, for example, that the traffic you get is from the article directory alone, which is false. The traffic comes from the search engines because you targeted a keyword that has minimal competition, and the result is that nothing stood in the way or your article reaching number 1 on Google. LL would basically write all of the hype and sales language on our sales page, and I would talk about my reality, which was pretty much everything we spoke about in this post so far, with the introduction of who I was and how the product works. The site did okay, but nowhere as good as Copy and Profit. However, LL grew resentful because he spent all Christmas writing the copy, as he put it, while I felt resentful he didn't value the time it took me to create the product and do the customer service and run the site and all of that. And I was also in charge of the graphics, the format, and a lot of the copy, and it was in my name entirely, so any of his scammy-looking copy I felt was running my name into the ground. On another note, if I thought the negativity and skepticism in response to my deals and sales pages online was bad before, this was a whole new arena. People didn't know those campaigns were real and figured if I was really making all that money before, why would I be selling them out now? Threads and forums were a whole lot different now. There was so much hate and a predetermined notion that I was robbing someone's mama. There was articles that came out that spawned hate fests where people assumed my screenshots were not real and my product sucked. For example, and a good one at that, was one that I had talked about before, is a thread on a forum that started with someone stating I had sent out an email promoting this marketing guru's website from New York City that owned a gym, and now he makes tons of money. Of course, being homeless prior to living the super affiliate lifestyle, only there was one supposed problem. That friend of mine is a famous actor, and I was caught in a lie. This idiot who wrote the article was talking about a site I had promoted that was owned by this marketer named Melford, a bodybuilder in Florida. Now, everybody knows he runs a fitness training business and IM website with his wife. That's his real name, and he's a real person. Note that this position of integrity in itself is in the minority on the internet, especially in this industry. Melford used to live in Connecticut, and so do I. So whenever I see Melford at an affiliate seminar, we joke about how we're Connecticut brothers. So basically, a big picture of Melford and his wife is like the first thing you see on the page. You can't miss it. Well, if you scroll a little further down the page, there's another picture, one where his wife is hanging out with this certain actor. So I guess this guy who started the thread was entirely lying in the post because you can't miss the fact that this is Melford's site. The minute I saw the article, I said to myself, why would this guy think I was talking about the actor? His picture is halfway down the page. How could you have missed Melford? In fact, there's actually 2 pictures of Melford and his wife before you see the other guy. This dude was on my list. I don't know why he would be, and I doubt he was a customer of mine since 90% of the hostile emails come from people outside my place of business, not from customers. And when he got to the page, he scrolled immediately to the picture of the actor and thought it was him who owned the site or something. I don't know entirely. Things like this tend to piss a person off. Me being from New York City and usually making contact with potentially thousands of people daily over the course of 10 years, I didn't like the fact that people could do this bullshit to you while hiding behind their computers in Pakistan. That's how things were. Having hundreds of thousands of people hating you and going off on a tangent, getting things twisted isn't fun. But most of the time when something really went wrong, it was my evil twin manager, and it just felt like I deserve it for working with him. See, before 2004, I would think doing it yourself really doesn't work, and those success stories of bands and celebrities who did it themselves had help doing it. I understand why a normal person would be disgusted by them and all of the ridiculous success stories, in quotes, if you thought this was fake or the vendor was predatory. In 2003, I myself was one of those the worst non-believers in the world because it hadn't happened to me, so if you were wealthy, I hated you. But the simple truth is that people don't put any time into it, hence it's unbelievable. Most of the people who wrote nasty articles were just doing it to make money. They would do a review site, bash one product on purpose to build trust so that they could get a good conversion rates from their other visitors. So when I'd stumble onto these types of threads, I was amazed at how ridiculous and assumptive they were. It was night and day from my customer support experience. In fact, my customers for internet marketing sites were very happy with the product and very professional, as they were pretty much in business themselves before. It was internet marketing. Believe it or not, in the marketing niche, my customers, they were very, very friendly and much potentially less hostile than a customer for one of my rap hip-hop beat sites. I do take the responsibility for creating so many hardcore gangster rap beats. So it would make sense as the people who leave nasty comments on the front page of my site were all the people who didn't want to sign up for my newsletter or buy my digital product. Greed consumed this niche from every angle. I saw it from affiliates, other vendors, and customers. For instance, one client I showed this article to, he had this to say. After reading a few pages, Jamie, I stopped. I don't know music and I don't see how any of this story would help me. Now, this was really too bad. I pretty much explain everything having to do with marketing strategies that might have taken me years to learn in this audio right here, but would take minutes for someone reading this to implement and make 10 times more money than I did. Not to mention the one roadblock that keeps everyone from making good money with PPC and, of course, all that other stuff. So people have a hard time understanding that when you hear me say marketing, I'm referring to research and then advertising a product. People generally are very linear thinkers and do not understand how you could be good at more than one thing. You need to be. There's not just one way to do it. Why would you only want to do one thing? Richard Branson didn't just do Virgin Records. And even with Virgin Records, there's a ton of different skills that you have to know to build a record company. Another myth is that simply not true, is that the only niche that makes money online is or make money online. This is ridiculous for 3 reasons. Number one is, as you saw what happened to me in the beginning, it's very competitive. It costs $2 a click. Number two, you only get ahead from affiliates in this niche and only when you have had actual results that are real and impressive. Number three, you only sustain a brand in IM or MMO when your students get results. So real results from a student won't come from a niche that costs $2 a click. You see what I'm saying? But I have to say I never saw anything that bad, nor did I get any real serious hate mail or anything until later in life, when a major website launched a communist campaign against all internet marketers, and they embedded one of my YouTube videos on the page. Hundreds of comments like, "I hope you get shot in the face," appeared on the YouTube video comments, and I had never seen anything like that before. Meanwhile, I was getting tired of being taken advantage of from other vendors and affiliates who stole all my ideas and took my sales pages, some of which entirely stole them and processed payments themselves. By now, I had partnered with dozens of people, all of which who had sites on CB Marketplace, probably collectively making millions. Although I do not have exact stats, and no, I'm not claiming that money. That would be in addition to my income claims. But what was very interesting was that all of my super affiliates who were ultra professional and driving my products up the marketplace to number one were making me a lot of money, but I'd never met any of them. The first time I really ever met anyone who was promoting us was Affiliate Summit East in the summer of 2009. LL had told me that I should remain the Wizard of Oz or Frankenstein and not make contact with any of them, which of course I resented him for even thinking this. So when I got there to New York City and I met everyone at a bar, my iPhone was going crazy with him calling, wanting for him to get involved. I guess he didn't want to become obsolete. I finally met ClickBank executives face to face, affiliates that had promoted me for years. It was great meeting everyone who supported Copy and Profit throughout 2009 as well. And for the first time, I met the owner of eWealth, that forum that I had began to post in the beginning. Sonic Producer and Beats 365 affiliates were buying me drinks. It's like I was born into the world, and all this time, these 5 years, everyone was watching that whole time, and they were really excited to finally meet me. No homo, but here I am, back in New York City where I had spent years trying to get hired by production companies and working at Elias, and then I decided to stay home and sell my music myself. Now I'm at a conference at the Hilton with people lining up to take pictures with me and stuff. One of the most amazing things that happened on this trip was that I met other very successful marketers in all different niches who introduced themselves to me and then immediately thanked me for showing them how to do it. All of the parties for the networks there, it was just so much attention, it was insane. But I guess not as insane as the story gets yet. I had hired an assistant for the first time in 4 years, a young lady named Tiffany that helped me with my products, customer service, and website development full time. And then Greg came along. Greg was a friend of mine from the forum, and I auditioned him along with 20 other coders. Greg got the job done in under 5 minutes and was hired immediately. Greg was from Oklahoma and right away showed a determination I'd never seen before. So I had around 40 websites, and some of them I had built myself, some I'd done with a partner, author, and or specialist, and I would occasionally build sites for clients. Some had become very, very successful. I branded my site creation services, which I had been doing for a few years, now part-time, so we could go mainstream and get more clients. We launched this service in 2009 called DigiBiz Pro. The launch was an extraordinary 7-figure 1-week launch, and the product was great and continues to have satisfied clients on a large scale. The software that my assistant built was incredible. You could basically build an entire site in 2 minutes and would plug into ClickBank automatically. This was, of course, a dream and ambition I'd had for a very long time, as you can see from my story. But on the other hand, B&LL decided to sell Copy and Profit and Profit Miracle since we weren't getting along. It was the typical artist-manager relationship, and you can guess how that went. He wanted to go into BizOp and did a site about a fake janitor who got rich. The bad thing was my content from Profit Miracle and my campaigns from Copy and Profit were in the members area, so immediately people thought I was associated with it. We sold Copy and Profit for $238,000 and Profit Miracle for $50,000. The new owner of Copy and Profit was actually a very good guy, and his first ambition was to add a ton more campaigns and launch 2.0. Basically really interested in making sure that customers really love the product. Now you have to understand that speed was a factor, and I was so impatient in wanting this and wanting to get ahead, I put Sonic Producer on the market. I sold sonicproducer.com for $180,000, around the same time I bought my first house in Fairfield County, Connecticut. The only bummer of this deal is that the buyer asked me to sign a non-compete for a year and therefore couldn't do any of my other beat-making projects. I would later regret selling since the site processed another $500,000 for the buyer during the next 2 years. This was a common occurrence. My auctions database site I'd sold for $18,000 was now number 1 on Google for the main keyword. In fact, dozens of sites I had either designed for clients or partnered with people, the partnership fell apart, and they'd just continue running the site on their own behind my back, or they were making more money than I ever thought they would be making, therefore I'd kick myself upside the head for wasting that time. On the flip side, some partners promised the world. I'd begin working with them, sign all sorts of contracts, pay Chris to look over the contracts, and then the project would go nowhere. I learned my lesson. Self-responsibility is more important. It's okay to hire someone to do an individual job, but be careful when you're working with a flake. In fact, do it all yourself. Don't rely on other people. See, 2009 was a great year. I now was making well over $2 million a year, $40,000 a week on average, and that was just the beginning. I was making more through trial and error. Everything I did turned to gold. I was making much fewer mistakes. I'd get checks in the mail and actual direct deposits for thousands of dollars from places I'd totally forgotten about. It was almost as if anything I'd put time into and was fully completed, and in a niche I was an expert in, paid off one way or the other. By now I had a list of 15,000 subscribers for Beats, a gigantic internet marketing list, and wrote tons and tons of emails ourselves originally to our subscribers, so they were very responsive, and we were basically living off this even after we sold out. Not to mention the guitar list. So many vendors were familiar with the Jamie Lewis brand. I really earned a spot at the table and could announce a launch at the drop of a dime. I bought an Aston Martin and drove around real fast listening to Cannibal Corpse real loud. These were the days where I had a big house and 2 cars that each cost 6 figures. 2010 was really the dark ages for my music business, but it is the year I began to make serious music for myself. And in a way, I guess I was getting tired of working constantly, so I really laxed out. Greg came out to visit me in the summer, and I picked him up at LaGuardia. Right away, we went to a nearby Mexican restaurant in Corona, Queens, and had a margarita and got in a fight with some gangsters in the parking lot. We arrived back in Connecticut, and then after a couple days, we left to go down to the city once again to Affiliate Summit 2010. On the way, we stopped at a gas station down the street from my house, and while I was pumping gas, a big black dude asked me if I was the guy with the Aston Martin. He introduced himself as being a bodyguard to the stars. I took his card as me and Greg drove down to New York City for Affiliate Summit. I didn't think too much of it. But he kept texting me. He texted me a couple times the next day and left me a message saying he wanted to meet me for something. I looked his name up on Google, and the first thing that comes up is an article of him getting arrested for guns with 50 Cent in New York City. So right away I knew this guy was the real deal, just not sure what the meeting was going to be about. I was planning this launch called Wealth in a Box, which was a case study I did with a student over a 6-month time period, manufactured in a 10 DVD set encased in a leather embroidered box. During our meeting, my man tells me that he could bring me some hardcore firepower to my launch, big-time celebrities promoting my box. So we spend a month or 2 recording promotional stuff with celebrities, and then when it came time to launch, it didn't do so well since I thought that the launch was going to be driven by offline methods rather than ClickBank affiliates. It was like that scene in Die Hard 2 when the bad guys recalibrate sea level and the plane crashes into the tarmac because the pilot thought the ground was 200 feet lower than it really was. Nevertheless, my man who wishes to remain nameless, or he might have me killed, he became one of my best friends to this day. Funny story though, I take full responsibility for my wealth in a box blunder. Lesson learned, calibrate correctly, asshole, talking to myself. This product was actually insanely amazing though. To give you an idea of what was in that box, one of my one-on-one students recorded his computer screen as I taught him how to do Google AdWords, build a niche site, and sell it on eBay. And these 14 recordings occurred all throughout 2010. So 5 out of 10 of the DVDs were a 6-month case study in detail, and it was intense. 4 of the other DVDs were on my own techniques, and the last DVD was a data DVD which contained all of my campaigns, resources, and other data. It was very profitable in the end since it was not too hard to sell a great product and industry trendsetter, but not the $5 million launch I'd anticipated. Just too funny. So anyway, I ended up marrying my lazy movie-watching girlfriend in the summer of 2010 because she was just so goddamn hot, and she got pregnant right afterwards. Her pregnancy was tough, but she got through it and gave birth to my second son. That summer I produced 3 hip-hop albums, mostly poking fun at modern hip-hop in parody form, but a bit serious at times. I primarily would create the instrumental music first and then write and perform lyrics with 2 other individuals, E-Dog and Rich Zelenik. These 2 guys I'd known since 1994, so I knew that they didn't love me for my money like a lot of other people. At the end of 2010, me and LL began to entirely go our separate ways. Since I was not the wizard behind the curtain any longer, I needed to get out and experience Vegas during Affiliate Summit West. This time I met all of my super affiliates I hadn't met so far. Me and my 3 friends from Connecticut stayed in a 2,000 square foot suite at the Palms Fantasy Towers. We flew in the night of the AVN Porn Awards, and there were porno actresses all over the place. I was so busy speaking to my affiliates that I didn't notice 2 of my friends wander off. We couldn't find them. I'm calling E-Dog over and over again, and he texts me and tells me he's at the AVN porn party in the suite that has a bowling alley in it. I forget the name. It turns out that him and my other friend got kicked out of the party because Andy Dick was going apeshit and they thought they were with him. They ended up going back to Andy Dick's suite and getting destroyed with him until 7 in the morning. When I got back, I was still working on my breakup with LL since we were still disagreeing on who gets what, and during the process I asked him to introduce me to the affiliates I hadn't met. And so he put me in touch with a middleman type dude named Travis, and me and him hit it off. January 2011, my non-compete that I'd signed with the buyer of Sonic Producer ran out, so it was time for my new beat machine. This time it had to hit hard with a bang. I had been out of the game for a year, and during that time my competition, who entirely got the idea from me, blew up. I drew out a sketch of what I wanted this new sequencer to do and hired a professional designer this time to do the graphics. After a month of design, it was time to hire a development company to do the coding. At this time, the sequencer would create songs and had twice as many sounds. This was my new Beats project, Mega Music Maker. After preparing everything for the programmer, my coder told me to give him 6 months, and in the meantime, I would do internet marketing instruction for my new associate, Travis. So around the time that my wife gave birth to our son, and my 11-year-old moved in with me around the same time from Utah, the scam state, and I made arrangements to put him in football in August. And this is Income Entourage. My new associate, Travis, had built standalone software that worked on Adobe Air, actually created web pages on the fly, and we started beta testing it. After using it as a landing page solution and build lists with it, we launched it and we beat Lady Gaga in Wimbledon on the Alexa charts at number 6 most talked about term. We hit number 1 on ClickBank with a 7-figure launch in a week. Unfortunately, the networks and affiliates leave you with a small percentage of your sales in this niche. It's similar to a bad record deal. These gurus don't understand that I made $500,000 with a drum machine on CV, and that was after affiliates with a 5% refund rate. However, since the internet marketing industry was evolving to more video, and I had the advantage of actually doing the stuff for real, it was a no-brainer to be the go-to guy. I was really keen to participate, so during 2011, me and Travis released one more sequel, all handling one aspect of the game. I would do the sales video, and we beat up a fake guru as the intro, and we launched the site into the stratosphere once again. I began to explore using parody to bash all of the fake gurus who resembled my old evil twin manager. I had met a few of the big-time gurus in the industry, and it was as if their bodies were invaded by aliens or reptiles. Maybe this is why they call the Illuminati reptilians. It's so weird because other people in the space that are just plain normal are actually very responsible business people who believe in quality products. And I really don't think that in my heart all of the nights that I was in heated debate with LL, tearing my own heart out, fighting him on advertising policy and not to be a scumbag, he really admittedly disturbed me. I was in this niche now that was super competitive and had a huge advantage because I could just tell the truth in a sales video, and the things I was saying were incredible. No one seemed to understand that if they just let me do it my way, it gets good reviews. I could naturally just state my story and the thing would sell. And the brand has longevity that way. This was when I decided to create an online class via webinar and for a very affordable price. This is, in my opinion, the only solution to doing big business in this niche and do it right. I know for a fact that a lot of the other vendors in the niche that teach it justify their outrageous costs because of the earnings potential, which simply isn't right, just because it is a potential. When you're already making this type of money before teaching it and you don't need to leave your house, why would you charge so much? So I guess that's why I started selling the first class for $1. I really didn't know too much about webinars or how to do them, but again, it was like the situation with Beats 365. Everyone was selling their blank for $50. I was going to do a better deal. So I launched I Am with Jamie, which stands for Internet Marketing with Jamie. Now, after beginning to make contact with the outside world, after being hidden behind the curtain, and finding out all these people learned from me and becoming millionaires, this was a huge ego boost. So even though I was not working with LL any longer, I wanted to continue to teach what I had become so freaking good at, but do it my way. I began with beta testers off Warrior Forum, as I had done with Wealth in a Box, and this webinar stuff was going to be amazing. Of course, with my marketing list, I pressed a button and 200 people signed up to my class. I was wondering how it was going to do, knowing that I'd be teaching 200 people at the same time. That's a big-ass class. From that 200 people, 20 people showed up to the class. We looked over the members area to make sure that everything was working correctly, and sure enough, there was a big red banner at the top, register for class here, but I was still on with only 20 people. I thought, where are the other 180 customers? It turned out that a lot of people just watched my videos and didn't want to come to class, I guess. However, this would change. This is how. The class was so freaking awesome, every willing participant who attended would have some sort of success with what I was teaching. How could they not? It was a way to do one-on-one training with however many people. At first, it was $1 trial on ClickBank for 7 days, and then a monthly fee thereafter, which converted insane. But then I decided to introduce that Beats 365 philosophy and did the $39 for 12 classes. That's when it went through the roof. A few of my students began actually making a lot of money, and I'd take calls from students live in front of other students. So a couple super affiliates in the class began to teach with me, and we'd tag team, one presenter while the other would answer questions in the questions box, and we would change presenters and so on and so forth. Even though the class was ultra profitable and would be one of my only internet marketing incomes in 2012, it did feel good as if I was giving back. I began teaching 2 classes a week. At 9 p.m. I'd go onto the webinar and teach for 2 hours. My assistant Greg would record every webinar, and I would teach everything that I do for beginners, intermediates, and advanced people. During the entire autumn of 2011, my son's football team was winning like every game, and I was the volunteer filmographer. At the end of the season, I'd put together a documentary and then started building a niche project with my son's football coach called 50 to 0. I recorded Coach teaching master classes for a couple months, and then we put the offer on ClickBank. A super affiliate began selling hundreds of them a day, and it caught on just like all the other projects that were real and had true real content. And of course, the best part, my students were able to watch the whole thing, getting built and launching. I have witnesses. Meanwhile, my I Am with Jamie class took off. I'd later end up hitting number 1 on ClickBank 3 times in 2012. And then my Mega Music Maker software was finally finished. I decided that during 2012, I'd spend a lot of time doing video tutorials for Mega Music Maker promotion, recruit affiliates, and I'd teach my class. Of course, now that I had this awesome new software that I designed with help from Danny Glicks and waited 12 months for the software to be completed, I had been waiting for this moment for a long time. This is the beautiful moment where you can begin playing your instrument, recording your screen with Camtasia, which will end up being part of your product, adding value by the minute. In the end, I wanted to have a complete marketplace where musicians would sell their tracks to buyers through my site as well. We needed the tracking done. We needed a sales page, sales video now, and all of these tutorials I was recording to go up and then recruit affiliates. Just like I'd done with the Sonic Producer site, I'd added a ton of awesome original sounds that I'd made by playing a variety of instruments and synthesizers and editing the pitch, layering, and adding effects. So 2012 was upon us, and I decided to spend a lot of time in other niches again, including, of course, my new beat machine. I reached out to my old friends in the beat niche, and they were very distant. I guess I'd been out of the game for a while, and so I had to start from scratch. I painted the walls green downstairs and began filming all the time. One of my goals was to get 1 million views for comedy parody videos this year, and we just smashed through that number. My typical videos that I do in comedy will get 100,000 or so views with great feedback, so I decided that, I have to produce more of these videos every week for my channel as well as my other channels. We typically either do a parody sales video guru style or take a popular hip-hop or top 40 song and redo the lyrics to it. Before I got into satire, the music I created with lyrics on it never sold because I'm a shitty singer, but now creates a very strong following since it's so funny. Classics are Demi Lovato's Give Your Heart a Break turned Give Your Ass a Rape, or Meek Mill's Tupac Black turned I Smoke Crack. Within 7 days, I Smoke Crack had 44,000 views and 100 likes. Not bad for something we created in 3 hours. One of my original challenges was kicking the videos off, because as you know, YouTube is so big and saturated now, it's much harder to get exposure even if your stuff is good. I refer to it as the viral factor, which is something I've seen over the years depending on how amazing your video is. It is possible for a video you upload to go viral just on its own without any promotion at all, but this is typically a video that scored 10 on my doodaddy. My videos aren't quite like the one me and E-Dog filmed where he rode Jules like a bicycle. That one went viral immediately, but with a little AdWords action for a day or so, my videos usually take off. They get tons of comments and likes, and the most supportive comments get liked the most. I Smoke Crack was a family hit and tempted me to go all out. It's like when you're unsure about what you're doing, and since no one really sees your stuff, you don't want to give it the extra mile. Well, when you throw 2,000 targeted views for parodies at your video entitled Give Your Ass a Rape, you start seeing dozens of supportive comments start to flood in. That changes your perspective. It's the same thing with the internet marketing niche. The stuff converts even when visitors are being all nasty to you. You take the Ferrari out of the video and it doesn't convert anymore. So it's almost like the haters and the people who are all jealous are the ones buying it. However, in my class, I think my students start off this way but really enjoy the class and keep coming. After doing 200 of these classes, I've made some very close friends, and we all consider it a close-knit community, like a family. In the summer of 2012, one of my I Am With Jamie members, Matthew Neer, started messaging me in the questions box, reporting extraordinary success. Matthew's now an instructor during my webinars. Teresa LePaine, a mother of 2, got her Kindle book to number 7 on Amazon. Butch Jensen, another one of my students, has a collective 10 million views on YouTube from videos he purchased. See, my class is powerful because after my students sign up and watch all the videos in the members area, students usually have very specific questions for me live in the class that challenge me as an instructor. So after I work it out with my student live on the call, it makes me an even better marketer myself and teacher. No, I'm not trying to sell you a membership. I'm just telling you to, the stuff in the article right here, this will work, so make it happen, all right? About a week before I wrote this, my students witnessed some crazy stuff happening to me. I had bought a domain name based on a popular keyword phrase, getting pregnant. See, I'd bought gettingpregnant.org about a year ago. A dude emails me out of the blue and asks me if I'd like to sell it to him. Note that I did not have this domain name on any marketplace or done much with it at all. There was just a blog there, and I never even posted on the blog. There was one article. He asked me my price. I say, I don't know. He says, well, how about $5,000? So it's long story short, I sold the domain name to him for $5,000. Done deal. See, the time it took me to find this domain name was worth it. And stuff like this happens all the time. Maybe not exactly like this instance, but in so many other ways. Your action becomes a snowball, rolling down the mountain, becomes bigger every step. If you're still scratching your head and wondering how you can do the same, buy a domain name based on an actual commercial keyword for $12. And it might take you some time to find one that's available, but when you do, list that sucker on Cedo for $500. Some people say I'm the Eminem of internet marketing, or Howard Stern show meets Mark Zuckerberg, which I see as a compliment, but honestly, look, that's a disappointment since that keyword is so long. Think about it. With what you now know about where I come from, can we put an end to all of this internet marketing and look at it for what it really is? I'd call it building a business. But honestly, if I had thought more of myself, I would have had one of those suit and tie type gay-ass guru sites for jamielewis.com and SEO the heck out of it with my image results and beat my best friend there in Switzerland. Instead, try the query Jamie Lewis with Google and you might get jamielewis.com, which I own, but it features myself and E-Dog dressed up as an AIDS virus doing a mock ClickBank sales video for STD annihilation. As you can see, years from now, I'd think that this portfolio of sites I'm left with, although full of value, would be seen as a giant parody of hypercapitalism. I saw the ClickBank community, on the other hand, as a marketplace of small business owners and other people like myself who created intellectual property. If I'd never bought that Get Rich Quick ebook to begin with, I never would have learned how to get my music out there. After selling over 30,000 memberships to Beats 365 in those first couple of years, hundreds of thousands of songs were made with my instrumentals. I hear my music all over the place now as background music, mixtapes, porn music, random videos on YouTube, and on radio and TV all the time. The irony runs so deep, as you could probably tell, since the money was real. The blood, sweat, and tears I put into this business are downloaded on a day-to-day basis, even though half of it is leaked by Merman354 on rapmusic.com. This is one of my common late-night conversations that I have with my girls in the VIP section of Crazy Horse 3 Strip Club, Vegas, on the importance of gratuity. I guess now you can use this newly updated chronicle to judge for yourself. So look, I hope you enjoyed my story and learned a bit about niches and sites and e-business and all that good stuff. Feel free to leave a comment, let me know how you feel, and give me a hard time, whatever you like. Let me know. I'll look forward to hearing from you.